and welcome to Film Fam, inspired by true events. I'm Heather.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Zoe.
We're the Grays. We're your Film Fam. Today we're doing a companion minisode to our Fast and Furious episode. And we are talking to Jim Wakeman about racing. Welcome to the podcast, Jim.
Hi, thanks for bringing me on.
Of course. So you race cars. Do you have a
Yes.
specific kind of car you race and a specific place that you race it?
We race, we have several race cars. We have a team that has grown over time. At one point we had 6 or 7 race cars spread out amongst the larger group of us. Currently we do not, the core 4 of us do not have a working race car because we broke them.
How does
Now, was that break it by crashing it or by taking
Modifying it.
bumps too hard? Or?
Well, the last working one ran into a loose wheel on the track and did enough damage that we had to retire it.
Well, when you are racing now, just however you race, what do you drive?
The new race car will be a Nissan 300ZX. It's an early 90s Z car. So that'll be the new one. We have a Mazda 3 that we're going to prep for racing, and we are in search of a proper vintage Honda Civic.
so
Vintage.
there's 4 of you and your main team? Is it called a team?
Yes, it is a team.
Does your team have a name?
Yes, we are the 3-pedal mafia because every proper car has 3 pedals.
That's
There you
awesome.
I love that.
Jim, I have to ask, have you seen any of the Fast and the Furious movies?
Yes, I have seen a couple of the early ones and probably bits and pieces of the rest of them.
How accurate do you find them to real racing?
Like underground street drag racing, I've never done, so I couldn't tell you. But
Well, there goes my next question.
yes, I have never done that. I do not particularly find drag racing all that exciting, although I've done it once or twice. First time I was ever on a drag strip was we were doing the Grassroots Motorsports Magazine Challenge in 2010, and I was driving a Wartburg 311, which if you don't know what a Wartburg is, it's an East German car. It was built in the 50s.
What does it look like?
An ancient Volvo.
That sounds cool, actually.
Yeah.
All right, I have another movie question.
Yes,
Have you seen Smoking the Bandit?
of course.
Okay. We might talk about that as well, because Brian and I just watched it, which I'd seen as a child. And I remembered it, except for I got one part wrong, which I thought it was in Smoking the Bandit when they say, we got ourselves a convoy. But that's actually from the movie Convoy.
Yes, I've seen that one too.
Yeah.
In Smoking the Bandit, they say, we got ourselves a Smokey and a bandit.
We watch a lot of movies, including some car movies, which we've watched a lot of recently, like all the Fast and Furious, Smoking the Bandit, kind of, you would say Rebel Without a Cause, or An
Okay.
American Graffiti.
Yep. Carnado.
There's no Carnado.
I was just wondering how you got into all of this.
I've always liked cars. I watched a lot of auto racing when I was a kid. My parents were heavy into road rally. So we spent a lot of weekend days in the backseat of a car trying to score well on road rallies. My grandfather was a diesel mechanic for
Wow.
years, and he was a very good mechanic, and he taught us all how to fix our own cars.
It really runs in
you
the
know, he-
family.
Yes.
Yeah. We were just talking about, there's a lot of movies from the 70s, 80s that had long distance rally events, and that was the plot of the movie. But we haven't
Yes.
really delved into those. I'm wondering if you had one that you'd really recommend that we watch.
The Cannonball Run series, pair of movies.
Yeah.
Well, I
Cannonball
think
Run.
there's 3 if you count. What was the other one called? It wasn't called Cannonball Run. Gumball Rally or something.
Yes, Gumball Rally.
So, the Cannonball Run was a real event. It was
Wait a minute,
run
was
by.
that inspired by true events?
It was.
It was. That event still lives on. It's not a coast to coast race anymore. It is now called the One Lap of America. Basically, they take a chunk of the United States and you drive your car from track to track, and then you do timed laps at each track and you get scored.
Yeah, well, Zoe has not seen Cannonball Run, so can you tell her more what that race is all about?
So it's a coast-to-coast race. Runs from, I think the movie has it running from New York to LA. It might be the other way. But those were the traditional endpoints of this particular race. Plot of the movie is just get to the other coast as fast as possible.
It's one of those ones where like finding the best route is really important.
Yes, and not getting arrested and things like that. There's a lot of police chases and silliness. Burt Reynolds and Dom DeLuise are driving an ambulance.
And Jackie Chan's in it.
Ooh.
Yes.
In real life, with this real event it was based on, were there a lot of people getting arrested because of it?
I don't know for sure. But a lot of the cars in the movie, like the ambulance, was actually based on a real entry where basically a couple people turned a van into a giant gas tank and drove it across the country, figuring they had to stop less.
I mean, and think about if you put the sirens on, you could just drive really fast and they wouldn't stop you. It's a little bit genius.
That actually happens in the movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
So your parents were doing some kind of rally racing, you said,
Yes.
and
Time,
taking their
speed.
children.
Yes, time, speed, distance rallies. Yeah, so a time, speed, distance rally is usually held on like public roads that are open, and you need to drive the course and follow the course at a prescribed speed or speeds. So you have to change to the right speed and at the right place and stuff like that. And it's a precision event instead of a whoever is fastest. So
Who judges the precision aspect?
So as you go through the course, you come across checkpoints, and those checkpoints you get timed when you arrive. And
Okay, but is it considered cheating to go as fast as you can and then look at your watch and stop near the checkpoint and then just cross it at the right time?
you don't know where the checkpoints are.
Ooh.
So you come around the corner and there's a checkpoint, and well, you're not allowed to stop now.
You got there too quickly.
Yes.
And these things happen right now, and if we wanted to get involved, we could.
Yes.
Like we could be a checkpoint person.
We've actually eliminated checkpoint people, and we use a smartphone app now with GPS,
Oh, yeah, it's just GPS now.
coordinates. Yeah, and it will time you, and it does all the scoring. And yeah, we're gonna have one in the spring.
We used to have a Mini Cooper S, and as part of our research into the Fast and Furious podcast, we both independently found out that that was made for road rallies, and we didn't know that.
Yes.
I actually did know. It was my car. And I knew because I think I got like emails from the Mini headquarters telling me about rallies that I could join.
So you're saying if I wanted to do this, I could just take our family's CRV and like go out to the streets and try to drive at the correct speed. That already sounds too difficult for me, but it is possible for for someone with like.
Yes.
Would you find that like a good starting point for people who haven't done a lot of races?
Well, you would need a partner.
Oh, okay,
What does the
it's a
partner
So you need
do?
gig.
Yeah. So you have a driver and a navigator, or a driver and co-driver.
Oh
So
yeah. No
The
Google
driver
Maps.
needs to drive. The co-driver or navigator needs to read the instructions.
That sounds like my parents when they're driving. My dad drives and my mom tells him everything to do.
And that actually sounds like a good sport to do during COVID because you're just in your own car.
Yeah, for the race series I do, it's called the 24 Hours of Lemons. And basically these are cars that probably have no business being on a racetrack that have been turned into race cars.
Awesome.
The typical format of that is a 14-and-a-half-hour race
Wow.
over 2 days.
Wow.
So one day will be a 7-hour day, and one day will be a 7.5-hour day.
Do you like switch out drivers? So not one person has to do that whole thing?
Yes.
So it's like a relay race, Instead
Yes.
of handing off a baton, you're handing off the car.
Yes. And we have to refuel and everything.
Is that one of your favorite types of races to do?
Yes, I've always liked the idea of endurance racing where you have this whole team of people and you're just trying to go as far as you can in the time
I
allotted.
like that too. I'm getting so inspired by this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come home from college and my parents have turned into street racers.
It's not just a 10-second quarter mile. There's so much more to it.
Yes. And
So there's a thing in the Fast and Furious movies that I was super interested in, which is called, what Dad already knows what I'm gonna say. What, nitro? Nitros? Is that a real thing? If you use that to just give your car an extra little like boost?
that is a thing that the drag race scene uses quite a bit. It does work.
Wow.
It basically stuffs a bunch more oxygen in through the intake, in with a lot more fuel, and you get more fuel, and oxygen is more power on coming out. Many of the sanctioning bodies that do races on circuits have outlawed it.
Okay.
We could edit this out if we want to, but I'm going to get on tape that in our Fast and Furious episode, I mentioned that nitrous oxide is laughing gas. It's what dentists use. And in case anyone ever tries to huff the stuff that you might put in a car, it has other things in it that are poisonous, and you're not going to have a good time if you try to do that.
Disclaimer, don't try to huff car nitro.
Yeah,
Just
it's probably
in case
bad.
you were thinking about it.
Well, this is something else we can cut out if it needs to be. But Jim, have you ever done any illegal street racing?
Blink twice.
Not formally.
How do you formally? I mean,
No, like in certain places in just about every city in the country, there is a place where people will gather and they will race on like a Friday or a Saturday night. I have not done that.
have you done drifting?
Not intentionally. It is a slower way. It is a slightly slower way around the racetrack. There are other rallies that are more like photo scavenger hunts along a course.
Wow.
Oh,
That I'm very
Yes.
into.
It's like geocaching,
Yes.
but with
Oh
cars.
my gosh, this
Yes.
sounds awesome. Tell me more.
Yeah, so the 24 Hours of Lemons people hold them. They start one in Pennsylvania, in the middle of Pennsylvania, and they end up at Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama.
Wow.
And usually these are multiple day, like a week-long event. You go and you do your photo scavenger hunt going from hotel to hotel.
Have you
So they
ever
have-
like done a thing where like your safety equipment like really helped you out? Like, do you see those being pretty regularly like necessary, the helmets and everything?
Yes and yes. I had one race where I had a very, very bad weekend and I crashed both of our race cars.
Wow.
One of them, I knocked it out of the race. The other one was just dented. And the problem is we had agreed to sell it to another group the night before. And then I dented it up.
So you kind of teased us, or me in the email, that you had a good anecdote that you're going to share with us.
Yes. Early on, I was probably about our third year racing. We had an S10 pickup truck that we used to race that we have since retired. But we wrapped it with a 16-foot Sea Sprite, which is a tri-hull bow rider.
No.
I don't know any of these words.
It's a boat.
A boat?
It's a boat.
You put a boat on a
Yes.
car?
Yes. And so after a couple years, it got pretty quick because we learned how to handle it and muscle it around the track. And I was talking to this new group of guys and asking them how they were doing. You know, it was a new team, and the guy was like bragging, I was doing this, I was doing that, I passed this car, and I was passing this. I was flying. And then I got passed by the boat. And I went, what time was that? And he's like, oh, it was like whatever time in the afternoon. I was like, yeah, I was out there in the boat.
You're like, which of the many boats might that have been? Oh,
There was only
probably.
one.
Yeah. Well, that would be helpful in case of Carnado. I'm just gonna be able to
Yes.
say it.
Yeah, so we had we did that. We did a Citroen SM, which is a French car. If you've seen the original, The Longest Yard,
Yeah.
the car that is referenced as a Maserati is an actual Citroen SM. Has a Maserati engine.
Oh, okay.
We had one of those. We had the East German Wartburg 311. We've raced a Rolls Royce.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Break a champagne bottle against it.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Did you ever win anything in the boat?
Yes, we did, actually. We won our class in the boat. We won an award
Your
called
class being cars wrapped in boats.
No, they have 3 classes at Lemons. A, B, and C. They were occasionally called the good, the bad, the ugly. Mostly they are have a chance to win, have a chance to finish. What are you doing?
And which one was the boat in?
The what are you doing? One. So we won it. We won we won the C class, which was the class of the slowest, crappiest cars.
The
We-
fastest, slowest car.
Yes. We finished 19th out of over, I think it was 120 cars
Wow.
Oh, wow.
with the boat. That was the best it ever did. Like all racing, you get a cash prize if you win your class. So if you win the A class, you get $400, which doesn't pay for your gas for the weekend. If you win the B class, you get $500.
Oh.
If you win the C class, because C class is much more important, you get $600. If you win what they call the index of effluency, which is kind of subjective, and if you bring something really awful, you have a
Like-
chance to win this, but
like
you
a
have to do
boat?
well, like a boat. You can win that, and that is currently $601, so it's the most
Oh,
the
that's
most cash, and you get a free entry, so it is actually really valuable.
I like the idea of this rally racing already, and now we're saying we can win money. It's really going up, in my opinion.
Heather's sold.
But you can do track days. Yes.
Very cool.
And basically, you need a street car and a helmet, just like autocross. There are several organizations that do track days. From like the BMW Car Club of America, the Porsche Car Club, the Sports Car Club of America, the National Auto Sport Association, also known as NASA. There's if you have an old car, there are specific organizations for vintage cars.
Brian, what if we trade in one of the CRVs for either an old car to go in the lemon race or a BMW?
I'd be up
So
for
you can
that.
get an old BMW and do both.
Oh, I love those old BMWs.
Oh, yeah. They're probably more reliable, too. Well, except that they're old and probably less reliable because they're old.
We had a
think-
BMW and then it blew up.
Yeah, we blew it up accidentally.
mean,
Tried.
Almost literally. It caught, the engine caught fire. I was trying to warm it up on a cold day. Oh, no, I was trying to,
Jumpstart it
was
with our
trying to
massive
jumpstart it.
truck.
because we had a pickup truck with 2 batteries, and I hooked it up to the BMW to jumpstart it, and the engine caught fire, and the whole car burned up before the fire department could get there. I have pictures of it. It was beautiful.
I'm down the street at my friend's house. I get a call, and it's like, don't worry. You don't have to come home. Everything's fine. Our car did catch on fire, and they're hitting it with an axe now, but you're good. Just finish your play date.
Do you have any other stories that you want to share or things you want to tell us about racing?
There's a lot of good stuff. I mean, we had Godzilla. We had
I'm sorry, what does that mean? We had Godzilla.
so the Honda Civic. We painted it green with scales and put a Godzilla head.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
More pictures. We need more pictures for our Twitter.
Oh, there are plenty of pictures. There are some you probably don't want, like when we had the Citroen SM. The biggest thing going in the box office was 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, so that's not a
So
clown nose on the front of the car.
You painted it gray, and that's it, and that's all.
So do a lot of cars have themes like that?
Yes, we try to do themes for all the cars. It's one of the things that will get you into the race if it sells out.
Oh,
They,
okay.
they judge your theme.
They're
Well-
like, you're cool enough.
Yes. Well, basically, it's like you don't take yourself quite so seriously, so you'll probably are fun. So we did that. So that's why we had a boat. I mean,
Right.
the Lonely Island song, I'm on a boat, was
Yeah.
our theme a couple
Yes.
times. We painted it up like a pirate ship.
It's like pro wrestling. It's like you
I
have
was
your
thinking
entrance
about
song-
that.
Yeah. Pro wrestling,
Yeah,
but
there
with
were-
cars.
There's a team, they drive a Nissan Altima, and they painted it up like
Ultimo.
the Ultimate Warrior from the 80s.
Oh,
And they
no
were
way.
the Ultimate Warrior car. And they had like the day glow streamers and everything. It was great.
this just sounds so fun.
It really does.
And
They got a whole culture and all these rules, and like you really
Yes.
feel you belong when you know all the inside rules and everything. We really
Yes.
need to check this out once we can go out into the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
And
this
and luckily,
definitely sounds more wholesome than the Fast and the Furious scene. Do you want to share your website or social media or anything?
yes, the rest of the team does a podcast called Everyone Racers.
Ooh.
And you can find them on Facebook and all the podcasty places. Even Spotify now, apparently. You can also find them on YouTube. Search for Everyone Racers. If you want to find the race team, you can search Facebook for the Three Pedal Mafia.
Right, Three Pedal Mafia.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you for being on the podcast. You've been great.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to do it. I'm always up for talking about racing.
This was an awesome interview.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye,
Bye.
Jim.
Bye.
Like Film Fam, inspired by true events, subscribe to hear more stories that inspired our favorite films.
For photos and links from the show and other shenanigans, follow us on Instagram at FilmFamPodcast, on Twitter at FilmFam_podcast, on Facebook at FilmFam Inspired by True Events.
If you have any questions, comments, corrections, or films whose inspiration you'd like us to explore, you can email us at filmfampodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you all for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.